Hello, all you wonderful Rise of Kingdoms players out there. This is Dragothien here, and today we're going to be going over the new CAV commanders that are coming out this coming week in the MGE and Wheel of Fortune, hopefully, for Season of Conquest Kingdoms. Now, we've had these commanders leaked out at some point over the last few weeks. I don't like commenting on leaked data just because nobody knows for sure what's going to look like. They're now officially in the game. They're in the commander list. And also, again, if you are in a Season of Conquest Kingdom, also in the loot table for MGE. And I'm assuming also for Wheel of Fortune when that comes out. Okay? But let's jump into the commander. I want to quickly go over, this is not going to be a mastery guide. I just want to quickly go over some key points of JADWIGA. I'm going to do the same thing for Jiang Yu here, right here at the bottom, but I'm going to do that on a separate video for today as well. So you're going to get dose videos, 2 videos, one for each one of these commanders. And again, not going to be a commander mastery guide. I'm not going through talent builds. I'm not going through, just the best of the best setups for these things because honestly, they're not in the game yet. I can sit here and look on paper all day, but you guys know as well as I do, on paper does not always translate to amazing craziness inside of the game. So what I am going to do is looking at what we have here data-wise, I'm going to give you my recommendations and thoughts on what these commanders are going to be used for, what their best uses should be based on the skills and the talents and things like that. And then, again, after we get these things in the game, which I will be going for this commander so that you guys can see what she's all about, and then same thing with the other commander that came out, I'm going to test these things for you as well, just to showcase what my thought processes are. If I'm right, if I'm wrong, perfectly fine too. We're all going to test this stuff together. But let's talk about JADWIGA here, what she's for. Looking at the talents here, CAV, Garrison, and Mobility. Obviously, this is a crazy combination. Not really seeing too many Garrison Mobility commanders out there. A little weird. Usually it's Garrison Support, Garrison Skill. Heck, I mean, can it be Garrison Attack? I don't think we have a Garrison Attack one, but you get my drift. I'm not really seeing a Garrison Mobility one out there. So with that being said, this is a different type of commander, right? And one that you need to kind of look at and take a second peek at because obviously you see her right now. You're thinking, okay, CAV Garrison. Well, we've needed one of those, right? They're the only troop type that hasn't had a Garrison commander except for Siege, obviously, which that's a whole other animal. So this commander, what's she about? What are we trying to use her for? Well, let's look at the skills really quickly. I'm going to go over some detailed information, and then we're going to make a judgment decision on what this commander should be used for. So decent damage factor at 1500. It is single target, so it's not AoE. And again, has a 20% damage bonus for 3 seconds after being cast. The 3 seconds number is very, very important, okay? That basically limits this commander to being locked in as a primary commander for that buff, not necessarily always being primary commander because, again, we have the mobility talent tree, and you guys know I never recommend mobility talent tree commanders being primary C, double C, Belisarius, Takeda, etc., okay? So on the open field, or certainly in rallies, JADWIGA should not be a primary commander for the open field or rallies, okay? Now for Garrison, however, this 20% damage bonus is significant. And again, if you are in the Garrison, your talent build will not include anything from the mobility tree. So with that being said, that's a moot point, and certainly having JADWIGA primary in a Garrison situation is fantastic. Quick pairing update for her. Certainly Saladin behind her is just fine. I think a Wu, I think a Zenobia, Theo, YSS, all will work very well. Certainly as well, if you want to start looking at some other CAV pairings, got Chandragupta. That wouldn't be too bad either, although most of his stuff is for open field. Some of it would work for Garrison. Same thing for William. A lot of his stuff is open field, not Garrison. So again, just kind of take that with a grain of salt, but those are some tertiary ones that you could pair up JADWIGA with. Minna is also actually not a bad pairing with his debuff and his extra skill damage that he pumps out. So I think the tankiest, though, would be Saladin, of course, and I think that's probably what everybody will think. It's pretty straightforward. JADWIGA, Saladin in the Garrison. Saladin already does a good job by himself without the Garrison tree. Hot damn, can't wait to see if a Garrison specific CAV Garrison with Saladin secondary to Jadwiga. That's probably going to be pretty insane. Second skill here. This is why I think that she's actually going to be a multifunctional, multi-purpose commander, not just a Garrison commander. She has the same skill broken out into on the map and in the Garrison. Now, I think the buffs that she receives from this second skill are way better in the Garrison than they are on the map, but these are things that need to be talked about. So 10% defense, okay, not great, but 15% march speed. That's the top march speed you can get from any commander without having to worry about attacking somebody or having a skill fire off or whatever, right? So 15%, that's the same thing you're going to get from Genghis unless he's attacked. It's the same thing you're going to get from William. Same thing you're going to get from... Double C doesn't even have that. Yeah, I mean, you're looking at 15%. I mean, this is something to have. The more of these you have, the better you have options to be fast on the open field. But again, you don't want her as primary, being mobility. That's just not the best talent tree for being open field or rally in the game. Third skill damage taken reduction of 10%. That's all the time, whether you're in Garrison or on the map. And then for Garrison-specific purposes, while commanding the garrison of a stronghold, you will increase your damage to archers, but you'll lose damage. You'll take increased damage from infantry, I should say. And again, this is a problem because you've got Guan Herald, Alex Herald, Charles Herald all over the map when it comes to rallies, and they deal a significant amount of damage, which is why they are currently the only known thing that I'm aware of, alongside of being a double rally, to be able to take on what is, again, the current meta of Zenobia, whatever. I think that this is a problem and could be something that you would need to keep in mind as we test this stuff out, because ultimately I think that Jadwiga is basically going to be the direct counter alongside of Saladin to Nebu, whatever, Cyrus, whatever, Ramses, whatever. Any archer rally that you're currently viewing as the meta, Jadwiga and Saladin, I think, is going to be the direct counter to those items, even though Zenobia YSS does a pretty damn good job of it already. And again, this will kind of affect my recommendation on if you should be maxing her or not. Blade of Dodging here. Troops led by this commander gain 10% increased skill damage at max. When they take skill damage, they gain 10 rage per second for 3 seconds, 50 rage per second at max. This effect can trigger it once every 8 seconds. That's 150 rage over 3 seconds. Something to keep in mind. This gain rage per second for 3 seconds. Very important. You're going to want to watch the second video I post today about Zhang Yu. That's a big deal. This buff is a unique buff. This is not something to take lightly. There's only a few commanders in the game that do this, that give you a multiple rage buff per second. Okay, so this is a big deal to think about as we continue the videos for today. This effect can trigger at most once every 8 seconds. That's basically giving you once a turn, or once a skill cycle, I should say, because it says when they take skill damage, you should be getting skill damage once per skill cycle at some point. Some kind of skill damage will happen, I think, unless you're fighting Richard Charles or something like that, in which case, you're kind of doing it wrong, because this isn't made to take out tanky infantry. And then finally, the expertise. Troops led by this commander gain additional 10% increased damage to rallied troops. Now, something to keep in mind for this particular sentence, it doesn't say when in garrison. I immediately thought when I read this sentence, what a great skill to have for counter rallies. Just an additional 10% increased damage to rally troops. Those types of sentences are usually written in for a garrison skill for a garrison commander. Read Wu, okay? So, Wu, Theodora has the same thing, where it says increased damage to rallied troops, but it's usually as part of the garrison portion of things. This is outside of that. Also, when the active skill is used, damage taken is reduced by 10% for 4 seconds. So here's what, after reading those skills and kind of going over the talent trees that we have here, here's what I view Jadwiga as. She is the direct counter for Nebu, whatever, rallies, okay? She is a very, very good for Arc, okay? Because Arc has increased damage for skill, especially when it comes to just something like this, where it's just a consistent 1,500 every single time. It's very nice. I think that in Arc, she's probably going to shine as an anti-Nebu, anti-Archer rally leader as primary to a Saladin. I think that's going to lock down any Archer rally that comes your way, and you may not even need to swarm the rally, although certainly you can, of course. Her other uses are going to be as a secondary, and I hate doing it, losing this 20% damage bonus, but as you can see, it's only for 3 seconds. So if you put her as a secondary, you will lose this 20% damage bonus. You're not going to come around to your first skill again for the primary skill commander for usually at best 4 seconds, and that's if you might get 3 seconds if you have Zhang Yu first or Khan first, and you get Feral Nature to proc off. Maybe you can get this one to come back around in time, but it's going to be very, very rare and not something that you should be counting on. So as a secondary, open field and rally is where Jadwiga will work, in my opinion, again, because of the mobility talent tree here and the fact that the Garrison talent tree has absolutely no open field components whatsoever to it. That's where she's going to shine. And again, I will connect this to Zhang Yu on the video that's coming out this afternoon with her fourth skill here, gaining rage per second for 3 seconds. She'll be a great pair, believe it or not, as a secondary for Zhang Yu. Also having the 15% movement speed bonus. You could also have Jadwiga as primary to Zhang Yu for Arc. For Arc, people. Can you believe it? Jadwiga primary, Zhang Yu secondary for Arc purposes. I'll go over what that pairing looks like for for running the Arc, for being the Arc carrier. Okay. Also, as a secondary commander for just generic damage style, generic damage style, pairings for the open field. All of her stuff is generic for the most part. Her skill damage is generic. She has defense and march speed bonuses for her second skill there. The skill damage taken reduce of 10% is generic. The fourth skill, again gaining a skill damage bonus of 10% here, and also the rage bonus is also generic. And again, her expertise is also generic. So there's only one component here on the second skill, and then the third skill with the increased damage to archers that is Garrison specific. So not really that big of a deal. She's definitely usable in open field and in rallies. And in my opinion, here's the super insight, I think, is what we need to look at it as. This is for counter rallies. Counter rallies, people. So Jadwiga as a counter rally. Reason being, you've got all these generic skills, right? You have the rage bonus that you're going to get. This sentence right here makes me think counter rally. So troops led by this commander deal 10% increased damage to rallied troops. This is non-garrison specific. Usually when you see this sentence, it's in conjunction as, while in a stronghold or a city, your troops deal 10% increased damage to rallied troops. That's not the case for Jadwiga. This is a universal expertise skill, and it applies all the time, or at least it should. Again, we will be testing to make sure that these things happen, but this 10% increased damage to rallied troops, to me, just screams counter rally. Extra damage to the rally that you're targeting. And again, certainly if you're trying to swarm a rally down, Jadwiga at 10% extra damage to rally troops, not a bad thing to have. Also, when the active skill is used, damage taken is reduced by 10% for 4 seconds. That's basically meaning half the time or more, you're going to have 10% damage reduction on your counter rally or your swarming army as it stands. So to me, again, just to summarize, great anti-Nebu rally for arc purposes with Saladin as a secondary. And again, I went over a couple different combinations earlier. Great primary arc carrier with Zhang Yu second. That's going to be your pair going forward, guys. Double C is no longer a thing. And third, counter rallies and open field rally swarm. And then certainly as a secondary for that. And then also just generic open field, you can use her as a secondary, although she doesn't have as many bells as whistles as, say, a William or even a Chandragupta with the debuffs and the buffs that you give for your army surrounding. She's not that great in that role, but she can do it. She can be a secondary in an open field normal army trying to just cause damage. So hope this has been helpful. Again, this is not a commander mastery guide, nor will the one for Zhang Yu later be a commander mastery guide. This is simply just unveiling the commander, making sure you understand, in my opinion, what she's going to be used for, and ultimately trying to understand as we go into her actually being released fully in the game next week, what we should be looking to use her for, so that you can understand if that's something that you need to max, or if it's one that you can go ahead and just unlock to get the Writer of History bundle and then skip. So I hope it's been helpful. Hopefully you can kind of agree with me or disagree with me. If you have any different ideas, or if you agree or disagree, whatever, throw them in the comment section below. I always love feedback on these commanders and my insight, and then certainly love chatting with you guys about new stuff in the game. So feel free to do that. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, all those fun things as well. And I will see you guys a little bit later today with a Zhang Yu video as well, detailing what I think he will be used for in the game coming up. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers, have a good one, and take care.